Welcome back to War and Peace 2 versus Warmus, turn 8. So that would be the 10th of August. As you can see from the turn summary here, it's quite a quiet turn. I guess the German army is resting and refitting for the renewed offensives. Very small losses, 200 airplanes compared to previous turns. Notable here is losing over 900 airplanes from the map though. Yeah, Axis tank losses, 143. It's nothing to sneeze about. A bit of overview, order of battle, total man. No, that's not interesting, but the map. We are at 3.8 million, which is quite good, turn 8 for the AFVs go down, but still on a respectable 8,600. Guns shooting up to 51,000. Right, but aircraft unfortunately dropping below the Axis numbers here, down to 2.8. I expect this to rise slowly over the turns. Anything else? Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on my manpower pool. It's going down, but it's not the lowest it has been. I don't know how much the Russians gain per turn. I expect it to be around 100,000 or so. So I don't know if I'm at the bottom of the pool. And basically what I see here is last turn gains. And I'm just using it all. So I'm basically at nothing. And all I gain in a turn, I use. But I would like to have a little bit of a buffer. Okay, losses maybe. Yeah, pretty good this turn. AFVs, that's not it. Aircraft, yeah, been doing better aircraft-wise losses. 6-1 odds here. We had almost 2.5 to 1 odds here, 3 to 1 here. So it's pretty bad. But my total numbers are going down. The reason why we have such high aircraft losses is that we could start with that because it's one of the main things. Now, when we've seen the overall Red Army strength, all right. Yeah, obviously as well, you can check out on map and transfer on map and support. That should be the Stavka total force, right? On map and support. That's all that's on the map. Well, it's not 3.8, so maybe the transfer pool is included in the. Yeah, I guess that is on the on map total that you see in the graph in the ledger. But actually on map now, we have 3.5, 48,800. Okay. So Odessa is not isolated yet, but it's getting close. So like we have Axis 26 to Soviet 13 interdiction. And there's a hell of a lot of fighting going on here. And I'm bleeding so many airplanes. When the Axis minor aircraft comes up to fight, I get a few hits. But when it's Lur and his Messerschmitts 109s, I don't stand a chance. I get slaughtered, and it's the same every 1 to 6 odds, 8 to nothing. So this is the main reason. What's left? It's been chewing up a lot of our old air wings, airplanes, I-16s, I-15s, etc. And while we're at sieges and naval interdiction, etc., let's check out the other site. When I got here, I was isolated at the beginning of the turn. I don't know how they're not isolated at Tallinn garrison now. I got from the German player that he's been giving orders, air directives, to be effectual on both the turns, both his and my turn. But this turn maybe he didn't do so well because I am not interdicted yet. And there's not been as much air fighting here as down at Odessa, and so maybe that's why. So what I did is I moved a lot of my longest range fighters, MiG-3s, and I put them here in these two air bases here. So see if they can reach it. I don't think they will intervene here. So maybe next turn I need to move something into Tallinn. But since I got myself into a pickle here with having no stored freight at all, I was considering abandoning Tallinn overall. But I'm gonna give it one more turn to see if I can shoot down a couple of naval bombers next turn. See what happens. And to finish off the discussion about the isolated port sieges, I pulled out 3 divisions from Odessa. So I'm down from 7 to 4. I think what I'm seeing now is enough. Last turn I saw 6 units here, so that could be 6 German divisions. Maybe. And we have 2 Romanian here, so I don't know how much he's going to be able to throw at me. And I do have a lot of supplies here. I have 20,000 stocked up of freight. But I still, if I'm gonna get isolated here, he's just gonna let the siege wither on the vine. What's the expression? So it doesn't seem like he's gonna assault it. So I just decided to pull out forces. And I pull out good divisions. So there's 1 in each port here now. It's not like the southern front really needed these forces. But I guess I can rail them out elsewhere. Okay, enough about that. So, Leningrad, we're stocking up on supplies inside the supply depots here for an eventual siege and isolation. Our fortification belts are growing fast. We're up to level 3 here. We're level 3 in the cities. And this turn, the Germans did nothing except scout here and drop some supplies. And he also moved up to my eastern, south of Lake Ilmen fort line, which is now complete. I have strong cavalry units, most of the front line here. The mounting cavalry divisions. So it's not as strong as infantry, but it's not as weak as regular cavalry. It's more of a skirmish line. Let's see if he does anything. I only see 1 full-size division here. And I'm fully stacked, and my second line, and even building a third line here. Whereas in the center here, it's more of a cavalry, weak infantry unit skirmish line. So when the German infantry that is advancing here, I didn't scout because I just know strong German infantry heading north. What the hell do I have to scout? And we also see him getting close to the Narva. And I pulled back from the Narva River and established like a center Leningrad front skirmish line here. And eventually I'm gonna fall back to the fortress line here, of course. The important thing is that I'm strong around Novgorod. And I don't know, maybe these panzers can swing around into the center here, do some nasty stuff. We'll see what they'll do. Or maybe just keep pushing here. I did not build any forts this turn. I'm also fairly strong when it comes to air in Leningrad. 300 fighters and 140 bombers. I had to reinforce it, so a lot this turn. Oh, and one of the armies here, the 30th army, is in Stavka. So I got an entire army's worth of units just reinforcing, fortifying. Northwestern front, we actually had a little bit of a tussle here this turn. Not sure what he expected to achieve, but he retreated me barely with a 2.1 to 1. And I'm happy trading 300 Germans for 900 Russians. So, well, I decided to retake this hex with my strongest full CPP unit. Let's see if he pushes me back again. He also did another skirmish attack here outside Smolensk. 1 succeeded, and I decided to barely, very barely, 3-1 losses again. Yeah, and I even got a tank division reserve activation, and yet he managed to push me back. And the other one, it held with 36 planes lost. to 2 Germans. That's 18 to 1 odds. That I'm not happy with those numbers, of course. As you can see here, I actually did some scouting because I wanted to know what's coming in this sector. And as far as I can tell, if you're setting up for something, I can see 1 tank unit here, Panzer Division. It would be south of Smolensk in the clear terrain here. But I do have a double line and some strong tank divisions, and even a weak, like 3rd refitting and reserve kind of line here. So I don't know how much he can do with these forces here. And it seems like he's, as I expected, only is defending in the center here between Bryansk and Smolensk. Now, I was confused, like, how can he be building a level 2 fort when I can only be level 1? But the reason is he's pushing up to next to enemy adjacent provinces, and he doesn't close with me, so I am still in friendly territory and can't. I think maybe the rule should be in the game that if you're, because this is kind of unrealistic, why should he be able to dig in deeper than I am with the same distance? So maybe it should be a distance to an enemy unit, not if you're adjacent to a friendly. That's a minor gripe. But as you can see here, when he's pushing and trading provinces, I actually get adjacency to enemy hexes, and in a way that benefits me because I can slowly build up to level 3 forts, like in this province here, for example. Oh wait. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna exchange. Yeah, let's do that. So this one is stronger, and this one kind of needs a refit. I'm just gonna trade places on them. I don't like moving units around, but since he's refitting, he can do it in the back line. Okay, so another major maneuver I did this turn this week is around Bryansk and Orel. I was quite a lot weaker in this sector, but there's been coming tank formations from the west, and some railing and manual marching and reconfiguring. My counterattack force that went south to try to break and isolate the Panzer Spearhead here has now retreated up towards here and created kind of a secondary line, and I have some decent mechanized formations and a couple of weaker tank with high CPP up around 100. Here's another very strong division. I hope it doesn't get isolated. So, and it's worrying because I can see that these guys are actually in green and even dark green fuel. Did he drop supplies? Yeah, 2 supplies. He lost 4 and dropped, where do you show how much? Air transported freight, right. Show details. Shouldn't you see how many tons of supplies? Maybe that's just for, maybe just he concedes. Another 3. So he lost 7 transports. Well, that's pretty good. Guess my... Oh, I actually did a little bit of interception here. Nice. But, of course, I'm worried. But until he gets substantial infantry reinforcement, I'm hoping he can't do that much of pockets that I can't break open. Or, you know, I'm sure he can break through my line, but can he make watertight encirclements in this area? I am kind of counting down the number of turns to mud and winter compared to the number of hexes to Leningrad and to Moscow. And he has to advance around 2 hexes per turn now to reach Moscow, and then he doesn't have time to fight for it. Whereas he can only advance 1 province, which is a lot easier because he can strike at different sectors of the front. And if he pushes in one sector, I will need to withdraw and just keep my line clear. I don't have enough forces to keep like bulges in the line. So I'd say that an encirclement of Leningrad is still possible with around 9-10 turns until the weather turns bad. Well, it's random, but something around there. I don't think he can actually take Leningrad, but maybe he can isolate it. So I guess I'm more worried about that than losing Moscow right now. So I guess my reasoning is, if there's gonna come encirclements, I guess I am willing to safeguard Moscow for 1941. So I am going to fight. I even moved up a good division here to retake a hex and kind of push my zone of control closer to these very dangerous units with high mobility. Of course, if he did, he could also chew off and encircle a bunch of troops around Bryansk and secure the double railroad connection to Oral here. But these 5 or at least 4 units here are militia, so they're a bit of a sacrificial, tempting him to go. And if he attacks in this sector and encircles here, I'll be happy. If he goes northeast towards Moscow and encircles, I'll be, because I have good units here. But that's why I have my reserves here. If he goes straight east, I have this very strong cavalry line. It's a joke. It's just a skirmish line. If he goes here, he goes nowhere. He heads towards Voronezh, but he needs these 2 towns first. And yeah, you can't be strong everywhere, or you have to be ridiculously weak at certain points in your line. I got 4 brigades of anti-tank as a secondary line, since I'm fighting tanks mostly. And that means that our central frontier is now up to full command limit. Also, I decided to make this Bryansk area part of the reserve front, which is, it's not full, but it's like 2/3 full. So it has 2 or even 2.5, like 2.5, 3 armies in it now around here. I would like to exchange a leader. It got a 3.4 average, Bogdanov leader. I don't like him, but I guess it's not the end of the world. Then we come down to the Kharkov area. If you follow this series, you know that we had last turn, we had a very strong panzer attack. One pincer going up towards Poltava, and another one crossing the Dnieper here around where you can see this tank division, a little bit west of Dnipropetrovsk. But he didn't manage to close, very, very fortunately. That could be almost a turning point, not in the war, but in this theater for sure, if he'd closed the pocket around half a dozen of divisions here. But I got it all out, and I ran for my life. And I established a line. My troops were very weak, very tired, very fatigued. So many of the tank divisions had retreated because he pushed them around like popcorn on a table. And they lost so many tanks. So what you see here looks numerically strong, but they're in really bad shape, many of them. Anyways, I decided to sacrifice Poltava, even though I built up a very nice fort here, level 2.8. But it's just too dangerous to stand close to these guys. Let's see, I can't really tell what kind of a fuel situation. Last turn they were on orange and yellow fuel, and now they've been sitting still and resting for an entire turn with some air support. 30. Okay, I guess. He's using, I guess, Romanian or X is minor. I don't know what nation. Hedja. 2000. Are they Italian maybe? Anyways, you can't see how many tons he dropped, but with 30 that's going to be a substantial drop, right? So at least I have a buffer of around 3-4 hexes from these panzer spearheads, and I got a bit of a first line, and I got a little bit of a secondary line. Oh, and the good news is here we got another new leader. I think it was a corps headquarters that was converted into an army headquarters. So I got a good 4.7 average army general that I can place in the red. That's why it's the red color. That's like the good leaders, the red. Red is good in Russia, you know that. And black, of course, are tank mechanized leaders. Last turn I got a 4.4 Krivoshein Semoyon leader here. So my pretty bad tank formations, at least they're under good leadership. And I've been stocking up on my assigned support units. The tanks have motorized sappers. Most critical army headquarters have a anti-tank regiment now. Almost all, if not all, army headquarters have 3 artillery regiments. Some even have 4. I think almost all of them, the most critical ones, have 1 mortar battalion. And I stuck a couple of tank support units. I decided to not stick them on divisions. I put them into the army headquarters instead. So all in all, our armies are getting stronger with support units, and I guess I'm repairing the army headquarters. Oh, you look at this, 15%. It's a really weak support function. They don't have a lot of support squads, so I need to refit them so they get stronger. Okay, that's just a little parenthesis. That's for overall of the front. Right, and then we have the 32nd Army. Light green means very bad leadership. I color code my colors of armies of the leader skill level, but I built 2 forts south of Kharkov. The reason is because it's gonna take 8 turns before I manually evacuate the T-34 factories in Kharkov. I'm using the old historical Soviet-Russian name that's in the game. I'm not using the modern Ukrainian. I actually used to work in Kharkiv. I was Ukrainian at the time, obviously. So that's what I want to say, but I'm going to call it Kharkov. That's not a political statement or anything. That's just the name it says on the map here, as you can see. Kharkov. But that is the Russian name for the town. We have... we ran out of 13,000, sent out 15,000. Okay. I guess I need to fill this town up with supplies again. I didn't notice that. What about this town here? 3,000 stored. I think I'm not gonna want to. If I keep this town this turn, which I doubt. I think I'm gonna delete this depot next turn. There's always something you forget. I suspect this tank corps, Panzer Corps formation here, I wouldn't think it would go into town, into the rough hex here. I actually abandoned this cross river rough hex, so I suspect him to strike where I'm weak, up here maybe, and go towards Belgorod here. Obviously, okay, he has now surmised and understood that this pocket around Kiev was empty. I think my routing NKVD security regiments were disbanded this turn, which is a good thing. And I just left 2 of the remaining ones here in the front line to leave a couple of zonal controls for him to slow him down a little bit. This infantry line is decent. It's not great, but it's decent. I have some second line reserve tank mechanized formations. 68 CPP and no fatigue. That's really good. That's unusual in this sector. I have 3 infantry divisions in reserve building CPP. I'm 75 in Belgorod itself, building forts. But I feel weak here. He's gonna push through somewhere. Depends on where he's gonna go. I just have to respond to the situation. And the same with... Okay, and I don't have as much space to trade here in the north of Kharkov sector as I do in the south. And we have a new 43rd Army under light green, very bad leadership, together with a new supply depot from last turn and the front headquarters here. So this sector, let's call it Kharkiv-Stalino line. Maybe we should call it the Kalyutsin line, because he's the officer in charge of constructing it behind this major river here. This is going to be a very strong obstacle for him to break with the major river. But is here where he's going to go? No, probably not. So I'm just going to build level 1 forts here. And then the Germans just going to go around it somewhere where I'm weaker, I suppose. So that's why I built 2 forts here, to kind of strengthen my two major industrial centers here. I did order reinforcements along the Stalino rivers down here, Kalmius and Donets rivers. Very, very small cavalry units that are useless, but I can start building up some small forts that eventually can turn into larger forts that best case can turn into level 2 or even level 3 forts and slow him down from taking Rostov. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm standing still with my reinforcing tank formations here. So behind this infantry line and the river, I have some. They're now at 25, and since they didn't move, they're gonna be at 50 CPP. So if he attacks, breaks through, makes an encirclement, I'll have some counterattack potential next turn. I'm hoping to see not a breakthrough, not an encirclement in this sector, but we'll see. Ooh, yeah. Here's the viewer question for next week. Here's a level 50 combat preparation that I could rail and unload somewhere here. Where, in your opinion, would be the ultimate? Should I stay with this one and refit it for another turn and rail it in and have it as a strategic operational reserve, or should I commit it somewhere? Like, for example, this level 1 fort here in front of the 3 headquarters. Because if he comes down here, these guys just gonna dislocate. So decisions, so many decisions. But anyways, I think this might be a more critical sector, so that's where I did the major investment of action points this turn. I upgraded 9th Army to Rokossovsky, which obviously, you know, is a 5.8 average leader with a 6 mech leader leadership. So yeah, he's really good with infantry as well, but I am low on mech commanders. So I gave him all the forces that escaped the Nikolaev bulge here over the river. Some I railed up here, the best divisions. Almost 400 tanks are sitting on this Melitopol, is it? Melitopol depot in reserve now under Rokossovsky's command, and that is my best hope for this very thin skirmish line of cavalry here and some secondary. These guys are not in such good shape coming up here from the south, but if he's sending out individual Romanian regiments here on the plains, maybe I can get a lucky reserve activation, give him a bloody nose, or I can even launch a counterattack under the command of Rokossovsky. Let's see how many supplies we only have. Sorry, I need to check out the phone number. Okay, I can take that later. We don't have a lot. I think I'm gonna increase this. That's annoying. Give me a second here. So, and what else? Yeah, the Kherson line is pretty strong. The Kerch Peninsula entrance fort line is pretty strong. And that's about it. We have another small army fortifying around Stalino as well. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how the game is developing right now. I'm worried about the air-naval interdiction levels. Apparently he's thinking of starving out my sieges, so my garrisons are just sitting there and starving and dying needlessly. I know it's doubtful if it's of any use defending Tallinn and Odessa, so maybe I'll just pull out of there. But I don't feel like I desperately need those forces right now. I think Bryansk area, this panzer group here. Okay, so the panzers are my main worry. Yeah, what a surprise. What a genius strategical conclusion. Here's also a bit of a worry. And of course here north of Dnipropetrovsk, south of Poltava, is a bit of a worry. We'll see what happens next week. I hope you enjoy that. See you in turn 9. Bye for now.